It's a place where no one dies. It's a land where no one cries. And good vibrations always reach you. I once asked the Wizard of Oz for the secret of his land. He said, just take a look around here.
So, was the old Safwan, or at least the version I visited a few weeks before the war that would end Saddam's brutal career. The town, a sad and flag-blown place, had been sinking into lethargy for 12 years, ever since the border was closed after the Kuwait War. It had one tea house, where the most vigorous motion was the clicking of domino tiles. The town's inhabitants, under closer than usual surveillance because they lived in the border area, were the most terrified people I had ever seen, frozen into silence by the sight of my government minder. By the time I returned to Safwan, it was nearly 6 months since US forces had crossed the border from Kuwait, and I was no longer required to travel by minder. From from the border town of Safwan and Mankassar, the U.S. colonists had advanced north along the Euphrates River, rising from the flat, featureless desert to the isolated stands of palm trees and the fertile plains before curving eastwards to Baghdad. On April 9, they entered the capital Firdaus Square, where a crowd looped the noose around the statue of Saddam and broke it off at the knees. The moment, recorded by a legion of cameras, came to symbolize the end of the regime. But what has risen in its place? Are the forces which now occupy and control Iraq building the foundation of the modern state they promised, or laying the old repressive regime? My route, as I retraced the road to Saddam's ruin, took me through the southern heartland of the Shias, the despised and neglected majority of Iraq. It crossed sectors controlled by British, US, Italian, Romanian, Dutch, Bulgarian, and Polish troops. It led past charred and contorted Iraqi army vehicles, sinking into the sands. Government buildings and army installations reduced to powder. But there was a more fundamental destruction. Iraq, under the US-led occupation, is a fearful, lawless, and broken place where murder rates have rocketed. 8% of workers are idle and hospital managers despair at shortage of intravenous sets and basic antibiotics. Police are seen as thugs and thieves, and the US and British forces as distant rulers, more concerned with protecting their troops than provide security to ordinary Iraqis. The governing chaos they created is simply irrelevant. A mile away from one of the richest oil fields on earth, the queues at petrol stations stretch for hours. Gratitude at having been freed from Saddam has given way to resentment and mistrust in a part of Iraq that could never remotely be considered as Baath country. All were thankful to be rid of Saddam, but months after that cataclysmic event, they detected few dividends from the occupation. You have done very little for the Iraqi people, says Salam Daud Salam, an English teacher in Basra. Yes, you removed that man from power. A very good thing. But what about the rest? We haven't felt that meaning of liberty. It lasted just for a few days, but then our supper is coming back. Benefits, when they did arrive, a partial restoration of electricity and a gradual reduction in crime, were seen as miserly and overdue, a betrayal of the promises made by Britain and United States to build a new Iraq, prosperous, modern, and free.
Os meus pensamentos caem para a terra do fazer sempre.